DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, and GGBet.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a slightly surprising start to day one here at DreamHack Summer 2018 with Imperial besting North on train. The veto provided us with some interesting choices, and what happened on the map was also quite unusual at times. Moving forward though, we have another fantastic matchup. It's going to be CompLexity versus Renegades. My name is Parla, and I'm your desk host for the duration of this event. I'd like to start out by giving a shout out to Astro, Corsair, Monster Energy, and Hacks. Thank you very much for making this possible. Jacob Renegades to my left, one of my very qualified colleagues. Hello, great to see you again. And then Mr. Dust Moret over there
right in front of you.
on the left. I thought we'd do a bit of a formal handshake, you know, get the
blood flowing?
That doesn't look good on camera. It looks too British and proper.
Like
anyway, let's jump into the groups. We, of course, started off with Group A, and now we'll move into Group B. This is the bracket for said group.
And
Renegades.
This is a very stacked group, Parla.
Indeed, this is the more stacked group, I'd say, here at the tournament, because we have Renegades, Gambit, and Optic. CompLexity here, I haven't seen them on this side of the pond for a while, I don't think.
And the fun thing about this, we have a lot of unknown quantities in this group. We have Optic Gaming, who is supposed to be this new Danish super lineup, who's supposed to be the second best Danish team instead of North, and actually give them a fight for the toe now. Same goes on for Gambit, just lost 8win, the best player for quite some time now out of the lineup. So it's looking interesting to see what these two teams can pull up. Obviously, first game is CompLexity Renegades. Two, I would say, known quantities in terms of Renegades have been playing well for quite some time, whereas CompLexity have been pretty horrible for quite some time. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to change in this tournament.
Dust, would you like to jump in there to add anything at all?
It's certainly true that CompLexity's had a really rough last couple of years. I think that they're just getting outfunded up until recently. Now, of course, they have the new backing, and they've really made some big moves with their CSGO lineup to try to build a better CSGO team. It started with trying out Finesse. Of course, he went to Cloud9, but they were still able to snag Stanislaw and Shazam after the whole Optic thing happened, and so they have been working to improve this roster from an infrastructure basis, as well as getting bigger and better pieces on the team.
Let's focus in on the veto and the potential maps we might see coming out. Starting with you, Jacob, Pimp, Renegades.
I mean, it is a best of one, so you would probably stay away from some of those unknown quantities from both sides of the team. Renegades obviously is a team that now has been together for quite some time, so they play pretty much all the maps. So they have the upper hand in this veto process, where they can sort of like pick and choose what they want to go into and sort of like force the game into a certain direction. Whereas I feel CompLexity with Stanislaw and with Shazam, it's still a fairly new team. It's still two new additions to the lineup, so we don't know exactly where their strengths and reliance is laying. Dust.
Well, I mean, neither team wants to play Nuke, and I know CompLexity won't want to play Overpass, so I know those maps are definitely going to be gone. If I had to guess, I would think that this either goes to like Inferno, Mirage, or Cash. I think this is like one of the few times where you could see Cash come in, and it's not like played that much, it seems. But I think like Mirage is on the table, but that's the thing, the new Mirage is out, so do teams really want to play on the new Mirage with the skybox changes, or do they want to avoid it?
Potentially highlight that to our audience at home, that here at DreamHack Summer, we are going to be using the new version of Mirage that was changed just 3 days ago, I think. Anyway, you can see on screen now that Renegades have banned Nuke. CompLexity then followed with Overpass, Dust 2 from Renegades, Cash from CompLexity, and then Train Inferno.
So it will be Mirage, okay.
And so we are going to be seeing this new version of Mirage played for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I am not a fan of it, to be completely honest. Both of these teams are coming from America, so both teams, you may assume, have been traveling a little bit, so haven't had too much time to check out the new Mirage. And if I were Renegades going into the this matchup, being the huge favorite and being the by far the upper dog, why would you risk anything going into a map like Mirage? Why don't you just get rid of it and play one of the other strong maps instead of taking a chance that is sort of unnecessary?
Do you feel that is an unnecessary risk that they've taken? Dust?
I think both teams love playing Mirage. I think they'll both feel comfortable, and I think with the changes to Mirage, like, it hasn't really changed the layout too much, but it just changes how smokes work. And if both teams haven't had a whole lot of time to research those new smokes, then you won't know how much impact they'll have or not. But certainly, if people have been trying to cook up something, then we could see some cool, new, innovative stuff, which is always nice to see. And so, yeah, fair enough that they want to play a map that they both, before the changes, were traditionally very comfortable playing.
Well, let's focus in on Renegades. We can see them setting up on screen. Another team that we've kind of been following around the world recently, at least I have. I feel like I've been seeing them every weekend for the last few weeks.
And that's the new thing about Renegades. Before, I would say before Netfly joined them, that is around a year ago, they never really qualified for anything. They were known in NA when I was over there for being the best practice team ever, but never ever doing anything in official games. So they had that groove and they had that mentality that the practice were pretty good, but when they had to deliver on stage, when they had to deliver in qualifiers, they fell short. But that changed ever since Netfly was brought into this team. It's a team that has matured a lot over the past year, I would say, despite losing Netfly, which is now a player of Team Liquid. They're by far best player and most influential player as well. Got Jacob, as you see on the screen right now, a Norwegian guy who has a pretty decent career in FaZe and has been playing at some majors as well, doing a good job. They managed to keep the groove going. They managed to be able to still be a consistent force to be reckoned with, and that's something I'm quite surprised by Renegades. It is a team that has been known for, as said, quite some time for never really doing too big of an impact, but they seem to have found the groove and are now a reliable force that you always can reckon with.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, you could maybe give us a bit of info about the man on screen right now.
Yeah, he has a lot more responsibility now that Kassad's gone. So not only is he in-game leader as he's always been, but now he doesn't really have that second voice he can go to standing behind him. So I think that's actually a really big hit to this team. But like you said, I mean, Renegades is a team that has like traditionally been a middle-of-the-pack North American team, like typically a playoff contender for the big leagues in North America, and they were at EPL finals, and they just missed out on ECS. They had like a really big showing on home turf at Sydney where they actually beat FaZe in a series and took a map off Mousesports, so that was pretty good. But other than that, most of the time they only like beat struggling teams, like when they beat Gambit and Virtus Pro at their last big event, which was Star Ladder. But they typically struggle against teams that are like ranked better than them. They don't really ever gain ground as much as it is kind of stay where they are and stay on this plateau. They never really drop down and lose to teams they shouldn't, but they just don't really grow. That's kind of one of the big things I worry about with them, especially having lost their coach. That's like a big tool you can maybe use to try to gain ground, and they don't have that anymore.
Or like the opposite of North, you know.
Talking about growth, let's now focus in on CompLexity. And this is a team that has seen so many different rosters over the last, say, year and a half. I remember seeing Rory Death for the last time. Me personally was at DreamHack Masters Las Vegas last year. And so since then, the team is very much different. And what can they do at this point with their current roster, and how stable can they be in terms of trying to better themselves and grow?
This is a team that finally got two players that is able to attract better players to this lineup, and that's a very key point to note out. They have Android right here on your screen. He's been around forever. Def, another guy who's been around forever, but finally they got Stanislaw and they got Shazam, which is two very experienced players. Stanislaw was in Liquid when I was playing with them as well. He did a fine job in-game leading and has a decent career, also an uptick. Same goes with Shazam. Two very experienced NA players, very controversial NA players for sure, right? But they have the skill to be up there, and that's good for CompLexity, because now they have the players to actually attract even better players. I don't think this is the final version we're going to see of CompLexity if we want to get them any higher up in the tiers. But for now, it's a great stepping stone, and Stanislaw definitely has I mean, he has something to work with now that he didn't have before.
I think you're right. I think in the short term, they have better pieces to work with. And like you really hit it on, I think that's big is in the long term, you now are a more attractive team, the future candidates that could be served up to you. And they probably had the best opera that they've ever had as CompLexity ever since the original lineup left with Shazam. And now, like outside of Finesse, this is probably the only time this team's really had a true proven in-game leader in the last 2 or 3 years. So these are big steps for this team to actually start kind of hopefully moving up the totem pole, at least within the region. And they maybe make a splash here and there. I mean, they were able to qualify for this event, for example, 2-0ing every team that they played against in the qualifiers to make it here in Sweden. So hopefully this is a sign that this CompLexity team and the CompLexity brand in general within Counter-Strike is actually taking some steps forward.
Indeed. Don't forget, if you're at home watching or anywhere on Twitch, you can vote for who you think is going to win with an exclamation mark, followed by orangey for Renegades and COL for CompLexity. We'll be getting into our own predictions shortly, and I think I already have a favorite in mind. What about you guys?
I have a favorite, but I wouldn't say it's as a clear-cut favorite as normally. No, I think both teams are interesting prospect. I think Renegades, now that they lost Kassad, is sort of like becoming this. It was a rock stable, known quantity. You know, as Dust was saying, they were beating the teams that were below them, but never beating anyone better than them. Now, without the coach, with a little bit of a shaky form as well in terms of results, it could be one of those events where they either implode, you know, and just exit out of the group stage, or they find the rhythm again and maybe go into the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see for me how well they're going to be prepared for this tournament and how much they want this. Whereas CompLexity, new team, new guys in the lineup, highly motivated. This should be their chance to climb the ranks.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's just not much information on CompLexity. I haven't really played much since Stanislaw and Shazam joined because they had to use like Slimmy and someone else, I can't remember who it was, that stood in for them to go play at to re-qualify for EPL. So they had to use like a different 5 for that tournament. So they've really only played like DreamHack Austin and some online games with this team. So there's not a whole lot of data. Like, for example, we're going to be playing Mirage. I haven't even really seen their T-side Mirage because all their Mirage games have been like them getting big CT sides and never really having them play the Terra side. So I don't know what they'll have on the attack for CompLexity in this game. So that's a big mystery box, basically.
Exactly. Well, guys, it's that time for us to put it on the line. Predictions. Jacob, starting with you.
I think Renegades is going to be the stronger team in this one. They have the experience, they have the players. Nifty, very mobile AVP player, going to roam around. I think he has the upper hand on Shazam, who I'm not a big fan of Shazam personally. I think he has those high games where he's just like one of the best uppers in the world, but then he has his lows as well, where he's just completely out of the game. So I'm not a fan of the inconsistency, but I do respect the high peak he has. In this game, it's going to be Nifty all over the place, and I think Renegades is going to take it.
Nifty all over the place, I think, is a good area to kind of analyze, and I'm going to favor in terms of Renegades as well, partly because of that, and also because I think in general they're a roster that's on the rise and has been finding some better form recently, whereas for me, CompLexity are much more of an unknown quantity. Dust, now it's time for 3 reasons brought to us by Hacks on which team you think is going to win.
No, this is a cop-out. But I'll get to a prediction in a second, don't worry. But I'm copping out for now. I'm going to sit on the fence for a minute. So 3 reasons why this is going to be a close game. So we'll kick off with the first reason, which is something we've been talking about on the desk for a while now, is that CompLexity is building a better team. You know, they have been getting the pieces to, in the short term, have more individually strong players to be able to perform against top teams and actually have more firepower, as well as some real leadership with Stanislaw. They've also added infrastructure to, you know, their team housing arrangement, the coaching staff, different things like that. So I think that they're finally, with the first time in a couple of years, really do actually have a team that is potentially on the rise, or at least has better pieces. Secondly, why this will be close is I think that Renegades actually is taking a couple of hits right now. For one, they took a hit in the coaching department, losing Kassad. I think that really hurts them. It puts a lot more responsibility on the players actually in the server to not have that second voice. And also individual form for some of these players have been really poor lately in their last offline events. Like JKS, for instance, had a really bad Star Ladder event. And when you look at the other players, like overall for events, they've actually mostly gone negative. So they don't really have that strong individual form right now going for Renegades. I think that's a big problem. And then number 3, these teams do have a history of having close matchups, like online for Star Ladder, for instance, in April, and just some other times these core teams have met together, because obviously there's been some lineup changes. They've had some closer games in online play, so I think that kind of all shapes up to be a close game. But at the end of the day, I do have to pick a team just like you guys did, and so with that, I guess I'm gonna take a little bit of a dice roll and go with CompLexity.
Okay, so Dust, after almost copping out, has gone with CompLexity.
Crazy American.
Me and you together going for Renegades.
How sweet.
I don't know what to say. It's the first time I've been kissed on camera.
I'm all in Denmark, don't worry.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad to be a part of the Danish customs. We can see on screen we have a similar percentage to what we had in our first match. It was about 70% to 30% in favor of North. That time you guys were wrong. This time you've gone for Renegades. Who will be right this time? We'll have to find out. Let's get our casters involved and see what they have to say. It's still blue, and it's still Risk. What's up?
Can't escape us.
I know.
I'm not trying to.
Unfortunately, you still have us, so.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing, guys. Don't be so down on yourselves. Give me your opinions on where you think this match is going.
I'm in agreement with actually Dust for the most part. I think it's going to be like a very close match. I think there's a very good chance it could go either way, but I'm slightly leaning towards CompLexity personally, because I think that they're a little bit more on the up and up right now, whereas Renegades has had their fair share of struggles. They've had to make a lot of adjustments, some of which may not necessarily be voluntary and maybe kind of coming through quickly, or like the leaving of Kassad. Like I said, I don't know how clean that was. I don't know how advancedly that happened, or if he suddenly kind of like dropped out of the team. So it just seems like right now Renegades has a lot of internal struggles, and they're just not really like all together.
Yeah, I agree with the argument that the structure on Complexity should probably be a bit better, but I feel like the individual qualities on Renegades is a factor you cannot really negotiate with, so I'm going to go with Renegades for this one. But also, I think it's going to be close.
Danish, and he's clever.
Indeed. And John and Niels, how is it to be here in Jönköping, Sweden? Again, a historic Counter-Strike location.
Yeah, it's always nice. This is my 6th or 7th time here for a DreamHack in Jönköping, so it's always like great. The atmosphere is great. In a few hours, the lights are gonna go off. You're gonna get the hello all going across the venue, and that's gonna give when the hey.
Should we see if we can start one?
Yeah, we can
Hello.
Hey,
there you go.
There we go.
That's why we love
risky
DreamHack.
business.
Yeah,
and with
that's how
that,
it
we
is.
can hand it over to you guys in full. Take it away.
All right, well, thank you very much, Paula. It's time to jump into our second opening match. Now, it'll be a North American affair this time. Well, I guess partially a North American affair anyway, as we see the Renegades going up against CompLexity here.
Yeah, the Detroit Renegades. So
Yeah.
we can call them American.
They've been in NA for they've lived there for I think like a little over 2 years now. So I think that's a safe consideration.
They're adjusted now.
Yeah. Obviously, still majority Australian. They always like to represent that, but their current domicile, I guess you could say, is very much in the States.
Yes. Of course, organization backed by Swedish basketball player Jonas Jerebko. Very nice guy as well. Had the pleasure of talking to him at a DreamHack 2 or 3 times back. And he's actually really hype about this, hype about CS in general. I think they might actually have the off-season right now, so there could be a chance that maybe he's home on vacation, so he might pop by. But yeah, he's very into this team and helped them build their setup and the training facilities.
He was at Atlanta, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, which was an event that I saw Renegades doing pretty well at.
Yeah.
They managed to make it pretty far. I don't remember exactly how far they went, but they had a pretty good couple of games there.
Yeah, they got to the semifinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Sadly, recent history has not been so kind to the Renegades, as we talked about before,
True.
with Kassad leaving the roster, Naf getting transferred over to Liquid, probably 2 of their more shining stars in terms of the contribution that they made towards the successes of the team. But everything's not gone just yet. There's still definitely room for this team to recover, just right now is a period of struggle for them. Meanwhile, CompLexity, it's been a bit of a rebuilding period as they made a bit of a sudden shake-up to the roster by adding Shazam and Stanislaw, almost seemingly kind of like coming off the rebound of the Optic drama that had happened a couple months prior to that. So still waiting to see exactly how well the CompLexity changes is panning out, as that was still relatively recent as well. But I think they've had a good enough amount of time now to kind of get their team cohesion going together, and we should start to see good results at this LAN,
This is where we can see at least like a picture of how the true level of this CompLexity lineup is going to be. I remember also seeing them like just after they lost their game in Austin and were knocked out of the tournament. They did a little huddle and then they said, okay, this is fine. Like, this is our first LAN. This is not the focus. The focus is Sweden.
They're very confident. I will give them that. And they were very confident at Austin, maybe a little bit too confident in terms of their ability to take games against teams like Optic, as we had the bit of a grudge match there, and the potential, of course, to have it happen again here, which is always fun. Especially now that CompLexity have had a bit more time. But back at Austin, like I said before, they'd only had maybe I think a week or two, and that was their first official match was played at Austin, if I recall correctly too. So that was their first time actually showing that off to the public. Now they've had another week. They're able to more importantly reflect on their first officials that were played on LAN back at Austin, and hopefully have been able to figure out the issues that popped up there and look to correct that a little bit more going into this tournament.
Yeah, the facilities they have and the coaching staff they have at CompLexities are definitely prepared and ready to deal with fixing those problems.
Obviously we don't know the exact amounts, but they seem to be probably one of the most well-funded NA orgs now.
Yeah, like I've been watching some of the behind the scenes. They have like a video series on YouTube that's actually really nice. You should go check it out. There you get a good insight. But we're gonna get some good insight because we're gonna jump straight into Mirage between CompLexity and Renegades.
All right, guys. Mirage, first time we'll be seeing that played in the tournament. Of course, we did play Train in our last match, so only our second match so far. But it's good, of course, to see things changing up a little bit and heading over to Mirage, which is always a fun affair, especially for these two teams as well. Shazam specifically is going to be a treat to watch on this map, both in pistol rounds and when he gets his hand onto the op. But just at the same thing that we were talking about before, we're going to see Renegades' own opper showing up plenty of times as well. So it's really going to be the star power, I think, showcasing itself in numerous rounds in this map. But that's at least what I expect to see. So let's dive right into it. As Nifty is going to be able to catch the T's going through the cross on Cat, but sadly not going to be able to do much to stop him. It's going to be on Azure now from inside of the site as he already lost Ustillo, but even he can only put up 1 kill onto the board. Stan in a bit of a rough situation, but dodges death, gets out of the way of Nifty, and picks up 1 more kill as CompLexity swarm the B bombs so to take solid control, leaving just JKS and Jacob in the fight. Trying to bring it back from a 2v4, but more than likely, especially with the positions being considered, this is looking good for CompLexity. So they're going to get aggressive, but it works out well. Jacob now trying to reverse the situation. but he's going to get pushed out of market.
Very nicely played in general. Jacob has to come up with a hero clutch to make this work, but let's pick up the first one and the second one, and now Stanislaw only on 9 HP. Will he actually make it happen, Jacob? Goes for the defuse, pops the smoke.
He knows he's back in kitchen too, so he's going to jump right onto the bomb.
He's going for it.
With the knife, and thankfully it's right to the back. If that was a miss.
Yeah, that was some tight round right there.
Very, very close indeed. It was looking solid. It was looking like CompLexity was going to be able to take, just easy full control of that one, but they made the mistake of getting aggressive in market, which is always a roll of the dice in my eyes, especially on a pistol round. The Jacob almost pulling off this incredible clutch right here, sadly.
That made no sense, that shot.
Falls just a little bit short at the end of the day. And yeah, Stanislaw gets a nice little stab to the butt to end the round.
Generally a nice setup. Also the way that they take mid control very easily. The new smoke goes over the roof bot or the skybox, and then you have the Molotov going into the window. Then they have full mid control, and they can do a very quick B split. And the timing of the B split actually made sure that no rotation came in for the CT side. So they battled the two B players alone before the CTs could rotate in, and that was post-planned anyway. So very nice, like quick strategy to begin things with CompLexity. Nice read of having a fast-paced round in the pistol. And now they're going to be on 2 AKs, 2 Galils, and a UMP 45 against pistols and head-on.
Nice little burning flush out there. Sends Nifty into the open and leads to a quick elimination of him. CompLexity just using the utility early on here. So wants to make sure that this is as clean of a start as they can possibly get here. And thankfully, they've done quite a good job of that so far in the opener. It's a good thing they also did not flood into mid, because look at the setup from Renegades. They would have very much tried to crunch on that and get as many kills as possible out of that situation. So CompLexity are able to avoid that. Read out of the situation. Def may still end up putting himself into a bad spot, unfortunately, but I think he's moving in just as Renegade's kind of shuffling away from their mid control, so this should still work out for him. And actually, I think he's going to get clean access to connector, because this timing is like...
No one's holding this angle.
Yeah,
Jacob is all top mid.
Like I said, the timing is working out amazingly well for CompLexity right now, and they're not even going to know it until they execute, because the A site literally just has JKS to defend it. They've killed him. Now they're going to walk right in, get an easy plant, and that's pretty much the round right there.
Yeah, at this point, if you're Renegades, you want to save your pistols. You don't want to go for this. Maybe if you can get a safe exit, and that's Jacob's plan right now. He's taking a close quarters like duel against the players up in Palace. The 2 other teammates he has are rotating far away. The CT side know this. Jacob's going to go down. Those 2 C sets should be saved.
Yeah, both going to go through underpass. I think more than likely chill out towards there. More than likely just defend the entrance to it, in fact, and hold in these B tunnels as CompLexity get themselves a quick second round up onto the board, pretty much just waltzing right into the A site. Renegades attempting to counter things out with a bit of a stack towards mid, but CompLexity deciding not to play into that, besides just taking some solid top mid control, getting themselves into a duel. I think they knocked out 1 member of the Renegades there. And then from that point forward, it was just a slow walk onto the A site, which ended up being easy since Renegades kind of abandoned it, gambling all their hopes on the B site, and it did not end up working out into their favor, as CompLexity will walk through with a solid 2-0 start here. More than likely going to extend that to a 3rd in a moment.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what they need in this game to bring it even. They need those pistol round wins, and they need to string rounds together after the pistol round, not to get reset by, for example, C-sets and deagles, as we saw here. So far, doing quite well, 2-0, and yeah, as we saw, 2 C-sets saved, but the rest of the team on full USP.
Azarian still, specifically since they do have that little bit of an extra arsenal going into this round, they are going to try to play a tad more aggressively. Since they can, they've got the armor, they might as well. Azar specifically going to hold himself close up to the ramp position. Might have himself a fight too. Once again, though, CompLexity is going to remain incredibly passive on the opening couple seconds of the round. They do go for mid control this time, and they're able to take it in a relatively clean fashion, going through top mid. But once again, same as the last round, don't fully complete it. Don't go all the way through to cat or take control of lower. They're just going to abandon it after they've held for top mid for a few seconds, and it looks like group up for another direct A play.
And then a lurker to come in on the underpass and go to connector. So it's going to be the standard like split towards A with 1 lurker coming through underpass. So very, very normal default strategy setup towards the say bomb site, but if you're just against like 2 C-sets with armor and pistols, this should work out for CompLexity.
Let's see from Azar. He's going to still look to try and control this.
Oh, okay, they're rotating back.
So you really do not want to take any even fights for some reason here at the start of the round. There we go.
Oh, it's
Def.
B. Yeah, okay.
Runs right over into the B site, finds it open, and an execution as well. And in the meanwhile, on the fallback from the A site, Android was able to knock out Azar. Here's where things get a little bit tricky, though, is Def going down means they are blind to the B site for the next 10 seconds or so, and they even hesitate going out the apartments. But thankfully, no one from the Renegades decides to fully rotate into it, so CompLexity are still going to be able to walk out relatively conflict-free and get their plan.
Yeah, really nice read by by Def going into that B bomb site. Technically, he's supposed to be the lurker, but he's like, okay, we have so much control. We cleared mid. I'm just going to walk into B. If I die or take a duel, that's going to be the bait. That's going to open up A for my teammates. If I don't see anything, that's going to be the full rotate and a free side. So nice little read from him mid-round. Good stuff. And now 3 players remaining on that CT side, but they're going to save their weaponry. So, oh well. 1 UMP and 1 CSET, and then the USP. Yeah. Not really counting as anything.
More so just kind of sticking together as a group because there's still a couple of players lurking in the back hall, so if they can overwhelm them, get an extra kill here, that would be great. That's exactly what they do. Ye gets overwhelmed, he's going to be taken down. Now Android moves in, shuts down the last 2, yes, but at least they got that second kill going, so it is going to cause a little bit of turmoil for Complexity as they do have to fully buy down on those 2 players now.
3 AKs or 3 rifles still safe, 2 AKs and 1 Galil. Some utility behind it as well. They're still going to build economy on the T side despite losing 2 players, so not too big of a problem here. Let's see now Renegades. They need to come back into this game, and this could be the round where they do it nifty with the orb. That's what we need. Right now, glass cannon with some utility behind it, so no armor.
Kind of like lacks utility on Renegades, actually, looking at it. For the most part, Ustilo, Azure, and JKS don't bring much to the table, and it's going to be a fast execute this time for Complexity, too, so they would have definitely wanted to have a little bit more of that. Thankfully, they're responding well, at least at the start. Nifty and Jacob both picking up trades. Yay is going to be able to push himself forward. It's not long, though, before he's also put down onto the ground, and Complexity are stuck with a disadvantage. A 2v3 set against them. Ustilo specifically a great chance to knock out Shazam for free. In fact, he still might have it. He takes a lot of damage on the fallback from Ticket, but Stan peeks out, saves his teammate's life, and now brings it back down to a 2v2. But Renegade's moving in quickly, however, Stanislaw is the one that'll make a move. Jumps out from the trip stack and knocks out Azure, leaving only Nifty in the situation now. Trying to clutch the 1v2, and with an op, it's not going to be so easy. Great utility now being thrown out from Complexity as well, just to hold him back, hold him away, and give him no choice but to fall back and save, as Complexity are going to continue to hold on to their lead at 4-0 following the first gun round.
Usually, Ustilo, when he has a chance like that in CT spawn, he hits that shot 99 out of 100 times, and he gets that kill. And if he gets that kill, then that round is completely different. Then they have the flank on CT, they have 2 guys pushing in through connector, and they can kind of sandwich the Ts on the side. And if they use utility correct, they might be able to win that round. But Stanislaw, he calls the information that there's 1 CT spawn, and then they peek 2 players. Stanislaw then goes back after his teammate goes CT spawn, can clear different angles. So that's just perfect, all in the back of like a missed shot from Ustilo. That could have been their way in, but didn't end up that way.
Stan actually doing some great job, just in terms of his movement too, because he was pretty hard to predict there. You could see Renegades constantly trying to look for him and just basically pre-aim him, but constantly getting caught off guard by his pretty aggressive movement around the chip stack there. So that was some good stuff in the mid-round that came out there, or the post-play rather, from Stanislaw to make sure that Complexity came out on top of that clutch situation. And they do exactly that, so that's going to keep them consistent at 4-0. Well in the lead now over the Renegades. And the Renegades sadly on another kind of half-buy here. I'm going to have to resolve with that and hopefully can put something together with it. If not, though, Complexity are going to continue to shoot ahead at 5-0, and they'll take us into the following gun round.
Right now, just going to walk into B, making sure that every single corner is checked and nothing is left up to chance. Get that post-plant situation going.
Yeah, B's a pretty passive hold for the Renegades. Pretty much only having Nifty, I think, to defend it. That's also their only op, too, but the calmness on the B side is apparently not very appetizing to Complexity. So they are going to fall back and start to group for an A hit, but that's exactly what Renegades want, so they've got to be careful about this. So Renegades do have that very meaty 4-man stack over in this direction, although it's not directly placed to counter out this type of a push, though. It is much more focused on stopping the sort of connector pressure that we're seeing from Def at the moment.
Nifty with a chance on short, but misses it. Luckily, JKS bounces back with the deagle headshot of his own. And now Ye and the guys trying to open up this A bomb side. All the CTs have rotated away to try other avenues to get these exit frags.
That smoke wall pretty much like immediately countered Renegades' setup, though.
There's nothing they can do in that situation. I feel like that's a correct answer to the smoke wall. Say, okay, yes, we're not going to go away and just give you the round for free, but we can't really push through it either until it's gone.
Yep, just wait the timer down. That's basically what they do. So they take a passive option on it, and now we're going to have their all-in attempt to quickly come back into this one. Yay! With a quick hold, however, he's going to be able to move forward, pick up 2 kills in his own regard. JKS traded out for 1, but it's really not enough here. The Renegades still completely outmatched in the current situation, and more than likely are just going to have to hold here. At the very least, they can keep these 3 Ts locked into the site and try to prevent them from saving, hoping that they die to the bomb explosion. 1 or 2 of them, in fact, might actually die to the bomb explosion. Android's pretty much confirmed to do it at this point. Let's see, is he getting far enough away? No, he will not, and Ye and Def both come very close too. But the round's going to go to Complexity as they get up to 5.
Yeah, and they get saved the AWP on Nifty once more. That AWP has survived for a couple of rounds now, so Let's be real, that was not a bad outcome for Renegades in a round where they got pretty much like wrecked by that smoke wall and the bomb came down. There was not much they could do. They still get some kills out of it. They still get some eliminations, AKs removed, and they save the AWP.
Keeping the money low.
Yeah, and now they do take the pause though. So this is where Renegades, they need, after this pause, they need to bounce back. They're down 0-4. They have the pause now. They need to come back into the game right now. That's why they're calling it.
So they're going to take a moment to discuss things. Remember, again, this is where it gets a little bit harder for the Renegades due to the recent loss of their coach. They don't necessarily have that guiding hand anymore, so that's going to put additional pressure on the IGL. They are able to find someone suitable to refill that role in the future.
I'm actually kind of curious. Is there actually a guy behind them? Is that one of the
I don't
Renegades
think so.
analysts?
I don't see anyone.
Okay.
So I don't think they've brought anyone with them this time. I think it's just their IGL leading the charge here.
Fair enough. So full buy for both teams. This is what it comes down to. CompLexity up 5-0. Renegades, they need to get back into this game.
CompLexity getting so much mid control early on here too.
Nifty can't do anything.
Yeah, he didn't see any of this either, so he has no clue the numbers that are in mid. He has no clue of like where they're positioned at. JKS is thankfully still going to be ready to take the fight when push comes to shove, though, as he finds Android first off. Def running in, doesn't spot the corner, so Azur picks up a good quick kill, and then JKS and Jacob also find additional frags. So all of a sudden, out of completely nowhere, Renegades show up with a great hold, and CompLexity, more than likely, they're going to end up dropping this unless Stanislaw shows up with a miracle.
It just shows that you can make CT setups that say, okay, we're going to give up mid-control, but we're going to be so close to every other angle that you want to push in that we can still win those duels and take the round in the end. So they get smoked out. They're up in middle, completely nullified. But due to the fact that he calls, okay, there's activity in middle, just play the standard defensive setup. That setup is enough for them when they have weaponry.
Let's see, Stan. He's going to go for the wraparound. He knows he's probably got someone over here by the bricks. Just locking out that position, seeing if they can convince him to push him at this point. He's got 35 seconds left. It's actually a decent amount of time to play off of here, but no. That 1v1 will go to Azur, and that's the end of it. Even if he kills Azur in that situation too, I'm pretty sure the Steps player is immediately ready to peek him and try to find a quick trade, so he's going to be in a pretty tough situation there, regardless of the outcome of it.
Last time these two teams played on Mirage, if I'm not mistaken, it was on the online portion of Star Series, and that was at 14-16. Regards to the fact that CompLexity did have a slightly different lineup back then. This looks a little bit different. Renegades, luckily, though, bouncing back. As we would expect, the money and CompLexity, without any troubles, will get them another buy. So Shashank can get on the op again. They can get 4 Molotovs. Azur completely smoked off here.
More importantly, it's a relatively clean round from Renegades, too. I think they have 3 or 4 players alive at the end of the round there, so they're not at risk of an immediate reset if they drop this one to CompLexity. CompLexity, though, is going to be able to walk into connector, unlike the last round, and both Stanislaw and Android hit their opening kills. Def has to dance around the flames a little bit there to avoid dying to it, but will still keep himself strong. As now Ye might be next up to bat here, looking for another player inside of the A site to eliminate. It's just that other player, though, JKS, who's pushed forward on ramp, trying to get some more intel. That's the only one left here.
Yeah.
And CompLexity also no longer fully convinced that A is the right place to go. They're also going to start to investigate towards Cat here with their mid players and send someone out from the apartments as well. And the apartments acts as a great distraction to fish out the B players. Nifty is caught trying to fall back from the apartments by the Cat push.
JKS, though, taking out Ye, but at this point, doesn't really matter that much. This is probably going to be a save round from Renegades. Shazam has it locked down. Long-range duel. You're still on our 1v4. There's not a lot of stuff you can do in this setup. Like, when you get that double opening, it doesn't actually matter what bomb side you get the double opening on. You're going to play advantage every single time as a T side when you get that 2-man advantage. So, they just handle it perfectly. Yes, they're going to lose a couple of players here, CompLexity, but it doesn't really matter that much. They wanted to get back into the game after that 1 round from Renegades. They did get that. They're going to survive with 3 players. They're going to have that bomb explosion. Just perfect.
Still giving himself that kind of pinhole angle right there. At the very least, guaranteed an additional trade. He's looking for more, but more than likely he's going to come up empty. It's good, though, because, again, the main focus here is to try and get the save, keep as much money alive as possible, so that when they do go for the force rebuy in the next round, they can at least carry 3, maybe even 4 guns, potentially 5, too.
Yeah, I think there's only 1 player who actually needed a drop, so that might be a FAMAS, but still, like, they're going to get almost full weaponry, full setup for them. That flash timing on J-Kim is perfect as well. Like, he was completely blind in that situation. Stanislaw, nice timing opening on Nifty as he's concentrating on the hall setup. Oh, they're actually going to go for full force, full eco. Interesting.
So he still obviously stays alive at the previous round, so what he keeps is free. But everyone else, minimal investment is just pistol, or not even pistols, it's just nades.
This might be the double up CT side setup we're going to see next round.
Opening of the round is not going to be too kind to Renegades, though. A nade moves in, pretty much destroys JKS's HP outright. Does a little bit of damage to Jacob as well. CompLexity continuing to play it nice and slow, though. Slow but direct, as they're going to walk right into the A-bomb site. And this time around, it should be pretty easy. They've already got one kill, and that was the guy with an AK. JKS, interestingly enough, is the one that actually gets a trade with just a USP, and that is quite literally it. But besides that, CompLexity do get in and get A control.
Smoke's landing out. Slowly but surely. CompLexity is taking control over the site. Smokes to CT as well. Def is the one getting close, and they do have the very defensive player almost in T-spawn right now on the C side. So pretty nice post-plant setup for CompLexity. There's not a lot they can do apart from saving these two AKs, which in this scenario is the good choice. Renegades just playing the long game. They know, yes, we're behind, but this is the best we can get out of this round, and they're just saying, okay, we're going to take it.
Relatively slow rounds, though, too, so it seems like the game's been going on for a while, but obviously only 6-1, so that's still pretty easily, it's got to be 7-1 in a moment, but it's still pretty easily recoverable by the Renegades with a good streak of like 3 to 4 rounds, and all of a sudden we've got a competitive game again, so Renegades should not be panicking anytime soon here.
I'm really looking forward to if they're actually going to throw the double up setup into the mix, because so far it hasn't looked that convincing for Renegades, and we know they have, like, Nifty can play the orb, obviously, but several of the other players can actually pick it up as a secondary weapon, so I'm curious to see if they're actually going to go for the double up setup, because surely they're going to have the money.
Alright, so I might have a pause here. I did hear someone chatting for a sec. I can hear the ticking in the background, so someone might be calling for attack or tech pause here. We'll have a little bit of delay before we jump into the next round, folks, but shouldn't be too much more. And yes, there we go. There's the tack pause. It's going to come from the Renegades. Already using their second one, like I said before. Remember, we're only about 6 or 7 rounds into the game so far. And they have 4 for both halves.
There's a guy behind them, but I think that's more of is that Gomez?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's more of like a manager. He's not a coach or an analyst.
I don't think he has a headset on, does he?
I'm pretty sure he has no headset.
So I think he's just chilling there.
It's all in the team right now to make these decisions.
Yeah.
No coach.
Gomez, I don't think he's ever necessarily to contribute as an active coach, to my knowledge, either.
No, he's a great manager, and that's why they have him.
Yeah, sticks to the managerial capabilities. CompLexity going into the next gun round. We don't see that double up setup that you were talking about previously. Only going to be seeing one this time on Nifty. I don't know if that's because they had the double AKs and they want to try to just be a little bit more thrifty here, or decided against it. But won't be buying it up this time. What they will be doing, though, is making the aggressive push down ramp, which gives them the early kill on Shazam. Thankfully, it did not catch Ye, because if Ye was with Shazam, that could have gotten very bad.
Yeah, that's what they needed. They needed to change up their playstyle a little bit, so they decided to go for an aggressive play down A ramp. 2 players committing, 1 player still on the A side if something happened from Palace as well. Good choice in this scenario. Caught CompLexity off guard. Shazam removed from the equation. And now, yes, CompLexity are taking mid control as they usually are. The problem is JKS dying here to stand, because now they have like multiple points of entry CompLexity onto the A-bomb site.
And remember, Renegades are completely unaware of the player in Palace and probably think that it is empty from their aggressive push earlier. That logic might have changed now because of the trade kill that came out from Stan. But either way, it could be a pretty big surprise as they jump into the site here in the next couple of seconds. Jacob, in fact, is even getting curious, so he peeks out in the mid, misses the underpass player, and that's another easy kill going their way. And what could have been an easy trade is missed by Nifty, and now he's gone down to Def. That's pretty much it right there, unless Ustillo comes in with a miracle 1v4. The round will go to CompLexity at 8-1 here, and he will immediately go down to Ye, pushing it.
It's just looking very solid from CompLexity right now. They even go down like 1 player at the beginning of the round, but they re-stabilize in the way that they do it. It's like the fashion they bring this round back is perfect. Def coming in with the angle as well, taking good positions, locking down different parts of the map and 2 frags. Everything's working out for them right now. Even the economy is looking good. 8.5 on Ye after buy. This is just, in general, a very nice start to the game from CompLexity. And we expected a close game, and yes, it can still, of course, happen. This is only round number 10, but a great start for CompLexity.
We do have these little slip-ups here and then, like that kill right there that happens. Coming out every once in a while from CompLexity, though. And that's the one, I would say, redeeming factor of all this right now, is Renegades at least have been doing an okay job of controlling the economy for CompLexity. While it is good, it hasn't gotten completely out of control. And we're seeing a lot of trades like we saw right there, even on eco rounds for the Renegades. They're at least keeping the rounds competitive and making sure the CompLexity doesn't just completely run away with the situation.
See here, might push out of connector, and then there's the all watching Android, just watching over it. Will they peek his angle? They will re-peek it, but only going to get 1 for 1.
And so there we go. It is going to bring us down into a 2v2 now, along with arming JKS with an AK. No armor behind it, sadly, but remember, in a recent patch a couple of months ago, the aim punch that happens without armor has been reduced quite significantly. So it is actually, possible to fight without armor in an AK now. Sadly, it's not going to be possible to fight if you get shot in the back, which is exactly what happens. And then Stan takes one more fight to close it out as well. Nice little double kill at the end of the round. Secures number 9 for CompLexity. Well on their way now to a clean victory to start this tournament off.
I feel like the way that, that they're playing this T-side right now, CompLexity, they're going to make mistakes, but those mistakes are individual small mistakes and losing small duels. The general system of the round actually proves to be fruitful every single time, apart from that one round where Renegades just were a bit better on winning the duels all over in the round. So, in general, the system that CompLexity are putting in right now is working out perfectly. Renegades has no answer for this. Every single time they throw a strat in, a quick strat, for example, as they're doing right now, the rotations come in a bit too late. They do take side control, so Sam opens up. And now, everyone's just going to die on this retake for Renegades.
Renegades seem like they were a little bit too kind of jumbled up a little bit on the retake right there.
That.
Yeah, they're keeping their chances alive here at the very least. Molly going to be able to knock out Stan. His nade pressure is great. It's fortunately that Molly's going to get whiffed. So it leaves the path back into the site open for JKS and Nifty. The problem, though, is that they know they're both here, so it's a very straightforward retake and easy for CompLexity to come up with a counterplay. That's good, though. Oh, he's not dead! Android pushed out and gets both kills before eventually being burnt out by Nifty's Molly.
That is a huge play coming out of Android. In that situation, 9 out of 10 times, that player is just dead because you can pretty much pre-fire the angle when you put that Molotov down, but somehow, some way, Android comes through there with a double kill. That is such a sick play.
Gotta let that player POV right at the end there as well, because let's do this from his perspective.
God.
What are you gonna do about that? What are you gonna do? You played the situation perfectly. You molly him out. You're hoping he's gonna go for a cross. You do not expect him to stop in the middle of the molly, take a duel, and knock out both of you successfully.
That is insane. That is so well played by Android.
So huge individual play coming out from him, which has now put CompLexity onto the double digits pretty much as early as humanly possible.
And you can see how tilted JKS as well. Like, he was one of the players facing in that duel, and he was with his head in his hands. And it's only round 12 into this game, and already being that tilted, or at least looking that tilted, is a very, very unfortunate sign for Renegades. But to be honest, after that duel, I would be doing the same thing.
That is one of the that is one of those situations where you should top it off with like some spam, like some spam or something like that. It's like you really got to win those.
Insert salt there. There we go. We'll be forced on an eco, of course. Renegades, you hate to see it, but that's the situation nonetheless. Money is fine on CompLexity. Everyone's on their usual setup. Facing against pistols should be an easy round. They're just taking the time out of it.
Yeah, maybe expect to see a couple of trades against CompLexity. That's been a relatively common theme on these kind of half-buy rounds, but I think CompLexity, has progressively gotten better at it and making sure that that doesn't happen, controlling the situation to make sure Renegades don't get these trade kills. Because right now, look at this. This is surgical almost right here. Knocked at the player in underpass. Besides that, the B-site's clear. I don't even know if CompLexity knew that or not, but they have a smoke on Cat, which pretty much immediately prevented Renegades from doing anything at mid to counter them out. And now CompLexity does have a clean B-site control. No one's in the apartments to counter out their exit through that route. No one's really going to counter them out at Cat. The closest contest they would have would be at mid, but look, Shazam, and now Ye is managing all that very cleanly. So, like I said, they've massively improved their anti-eco game, and it just seems like CompLexity is kind of unstoppable at this point on their T side.
Really have to congratulate on CompLexity on making this system work. Like, we saw potential small glimmers of hope in Austin, but it all got shut down by Optic because they were not ready. They didn't have enough pack time. But here we see the effect of having the system, having the infrastructure, making this team just grow, not just as individual players, but also as a team and playing together. It's really looking good. I'm very surprised and very happy to see this.
I'm also a little bit disappointed that we're not seeing more of an individual effort put up by Renegades, at least to get a couple more rounds so far in this half, because this is sadly them just kind of falling in all aspects. Even when it comes down to the 1v1s where we expected Renegades to do relatively well, looking specifically at players like Nifty, Azur, and the mainstays for Renegades. And sadly, they've just really not shown up. I don't know if that's the opening tournament jitters getting to them, a little bit shaky here and there, or some other factor. But it's definitely not part of the course for what we expect from the Renegades, especially looking at their performance in late 2017.
Taken out. Android once again onto the bomb site. Yustilo and Azur both gone. 4v2, and yes, they have utility. Yes, they have weaponry, but does that matter? JKS already saving now.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. He's out of there. See ya. Android once more.
I'm pretty sure he turned around before his second to last teammate ended up going down there because he's already past the A site, going into Palace here in a second. He is gone.
This is not looking good. Nifty's on 3 to 10. Nifty usually on the top of that scoreboard, or at least near it. 50 Nifty, there's a reason we call him that. Like, he is so good, but right now that individual level is not showing.
So 12 to 1 is going to become our scoreline here over the next couple of seconds. CompLexity, the barnstorming performance so far to start off not only this map, but their tournament as well. They certainly become one of the teams to fear here. If they carry this through, win up this match, and potentially have a performance like this on their next matchup as well.
Also, it's going to be very hard to kind of like anti-strat them, because if you only see one side of Mirage, and they probably have 2 or 3 maps where they have specific stuff planned out for the T side and the CT side, and you only seen this one map. Imagine meeting them in like a semi-final or something, and maybe you have 2 maps of study on them. And that's all because they have pretty much been building new stuff since Austin.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is like their, I think, like 3rd or 4th official match on LAN since the roster formed. So, and I don't even think they play that many online games, to my knowledge, either.
I don't think so either, no. Because EPL is over. They played Austin, and then they played the relegations, but that was with a different lineup.
Yeah, they had a Professor Chaos was the other player that I think just forgot his name, but.
Nice from EA. Once more opening onto JKS, pouring just more salt on him. At this point, this is where CS become a really mentally draining, like a hard game to compete in, when you feel like everything is going against you. And you feel like every single time you try to do something to change it, you just get shut down. And it becomes really hard to mentally get back into the game. That's where JKS is challenged right now.
That peek from Jacob may have ended up being a mistake there, as it did give Stanislaw the foresight to then pre-fire him a couple seconds later. The cleanup and window next up as well here. Just nothing working out so far for the Renegades. Nifty at least makes something happen here, but sadly he's swarmed, and he's going to get completely surrounded in a second, as you just saw right there. Azure with the surprise play at top mid. He moves in for 2 kills, though, so we're not done just yet. He failed to drop the bomb, sadly, though, so that is still going to escape through Cat onto the B site, where we'll find a plant. And this situation, of course, will get a lot more difficult for Azure.
This post plant should be in CompLexity, but we know Azure, he has a long history of making plays. The beast from down under. This one might be too big of a bite.
I think he sees it now. There's a lineup. Oh my goodness. Thankfully, the second player trades it back out, but that was almost lineup for him, and he knew it too. You could see it on his face once he went to his perspective after the round closed out, which is not enough to win it out there.
With that lineup, you almost saw it coming. Like these 2 frags, he's always on point with that M4. And this lineup here, that's really dangerous as well from CompLexity's lineup. But they both want to get in. They know his position. They want to eliminate him straight off. They make it work. So no worries, but that was close. Maybe a bit too close.
Definitely falls through the situation with like a very quick headshot off of his AK there. So if he had waited or had to use maybe more than 1 or 2 more bullets, then he probably would have been a dead man due to the lineup. So a little bit dangerous there. You probably want to take a step back and make sure that things like that don't happen again when they're going for these 2v1 closeouts, as that should have been pretty well coordinated.
Yeah, like they're missing the last 5%, but still that's better than most teams right now in CS. If you have the 95, most teams sit around like 80% completion at this point, I feel like.
Good aggressive read, does find a kill from the inside. He's going to net together a second kill too, and now a third. He's doing massive work here right now, as potentially number 4 is going to be found in the future here. JKS also found the actual 4th kill for his team. And now Android sits alone, 1v3 on the final round of the half as well. Maybe finally seeing Renegades piece another round together. And again, just like their only other round, it kind of comes completely out of nowhere and in very quick fashion as well. But we do indeed end the half at 13-2, with Renegades finally getting that second round on the board in the last round of the half.
Yeah, the problem is that, as we said before, like the rounds that they're getting are coming off individual like qualities. Jay came here, getting that first one, rotating down, taking 2 more frags. You can't count on Jacob doing that every single round. And that's a problem, right? That's a problem with Renegades. They're not consistent right now. That's where CompLexity are consistent. Yes, they might lose individual aim battles. That's fair enough, because the aim on Renegades players should be a bit better. The individual level should be a bit better. But the system, the structure is there. So consistency is focus for CompLexity. It is definitely, it might be the focus, but it's not working right now for Renegades.
Jacob, just to talk about him for a sec too, is another kind of interesting wrinkle in Renegades' like long-term plan, because they've had him on the roster since the first couple days of February.
Yes, he is still not signed full-time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. He's like, and it was very specific when they brought him on board that he is a long-term stand-in.
Yep.
So I'm curious though with this, like what the long game is from an organizational standpoint, considering you've had him in the roster for so long and are currently, as far as we're aware anyway, are not planning to keep him. So, okay, so like, who are you waiting for? Like, what's the plan here?
It's a good question. I don't have an answer.
Has it been like nearly like 5 months now, almost after we get through this month?
And I feel like that's where CS:GO is heading, like structure-wise as well. Like you can have long-term loans, just like you have in most other sports, especially like European football or soccer, as you guys call it. It's football. Let's not have that discussion. But there you can there's also a system where you can loan players on long-term Android. What? Thanks for the smoke, easy peasy. And now the retake is on.
Having a little bit to be able to find it there makes it work. At least knocks out the one. Plant still hasn't gone down yet either. I think they were hoping CompLexity would start the retake a bit early and they'd be ready for it, but doesn't end up happening. You still with a good hold though. Counters at the window push from Def. Oh, and a great flash into connector. Completely blinds out Ye. He's going to give Jacob an easy path to another pickup. In fact, 2 pickups. He's knocked out Shazam as well. Leaves everything on Stan and Android, and Android's already been lit. He's down at 17 HP. They've seen him. They know he's back here ticket for sure. So he's not going to be left with any room to do anything, and it's really the same fate for Stanislaw, sadly. He's way back on Cat still by the ladder room. He'll be completely surrounded and eventually knocked out by Yusilo, who you saw on the front lines there. And there we go. A clean start for the Renegades as they take the second half pistol, and hopefully a ticket to get back into this map now.
Very nice post-plant setup. That flash coming in after the bomb plant to clear up connector, making sure that Jacob can peek the first guy while he's flashed and then take the secondary duel, while the secondary guy is just in the middle of all his worries. Very nicely done. Renegades bouncing back with a structure round. That's what we need to see from him on this T side. We need to see the structure.
Tag from Def early on. The knock off a good 60 HP from Yustilo. However, smoke immediately prevents him from re-peeking and trying to do that once again.
Okay, he adjusted because 2 of the smokes that you usually throw on the other end of connector actually box now due to the change of the skybox. But they had the correction smoke ready for it, so they knew exactly what they're doing in Mirage with this smoke. That's nice to see.
So there is a pretty big emphasis on defending the B side right now. CompLexity do get the appropriate read. Good dink goes out as well. It's going to knock out about half of Nifty's HP. Stan, and here we go. This is where it gets chaotic. This is where Renegades have to really show up and control the situation. And thankfully, so far they're doing a great job of that. JK's picking up multiple frags here. Def, going to try to hold things together as he knows he still has one player trying to cross his angle here. But even he's going to get forced back a little bit and may miss his opportunity.
Yay. On the other side of the smoke is an enemy, but he's going to be taken out now. Def 1v2. Could get the frag onto Nifty, but he won't. Nifty holding the perfect angle, getting the 3K.
And it is the players that show up with the most impact that are also the 2 that stand alive at the end of the round there for the Renegades. So big JKS and Nifty finding some great entry power. Like I said, it did get a little bit crazy for a second there. Nice shot at the end as well. Got a little bit crazy on the entries there for the Renegades because CompLexity got a nice read early on. They had multiple. They had, I think, like 3 or 4 players already in the B site when the take started. So they were very much ready to counter that back out, but just couldn't find the frags that were necessary from the CT side there.
This is the full eco coming in for CompLexity. Shazam is saving up. He has enough money to get it off next round. Rest of the team just saving up to get that M4 set up. There should be no worries for Renegades. They should get on 5 here. Information play early on, down underpass, doesn't really matter. They're just going to take over A, Renegades, and 2 remaining players will have almost nothing to do here.
Just a stat pad around for the most part here, especially after they took such easy control of the A bomb site, although Stanislaw's a little bit of a surprise. Just can't put the kill together, though. Azar cleans them both up. It's another one onto the board here for the Renegades. It's up to, I believe, 4 rounds now. Still a long way to go, just under 10 now. At the very least, they got the good start. Have the momentum going into their favor. 5, excuse me, not 4.
There we go. As we're lining up the smokes, it's always fun, like, if you can download this demo when you're done, if you're really keen on, like, watching CS, watch how they utilize the smokes after the patch, because a lot of these teams had actually spent a lot of time researching how these new smokes work with this new skybox, but 2 frags quickly coming in from CompLexity. Aso, though, pushing onto that B bomb site, won't get the opening. Stanislaw holding down the fort, and now it's all JKS and Nifty. They're the only ones that remain. Sam with the AWP on B as well. JKS might get the bomb here, but
I'm pretty sure JKS is pretty aware of the situation. Like I said, he plays it very cautiously. I think he knew that the op was sitting inside of the window right there. The problem is, he's still very much alone here, even with the assistance from Nifty up on top. Not really in a position where if he loses his teammate, he's going to be able to immediately trade it. It's just a situation where they're slowly going to get surrounded there. And sadly, there's no real room for the post plant to work out. They were given no time to change positions in the post plant. They probably didn't necessarily want to play that close to apartments and so close together. But like I said, the CTs were already there when they put the bomb onto the ground, so they were just not given the time that they needed.
Of course, the man in the picture right now, American CS legend Rambo.
Yeah.
For those of you guys under the age of 20, might not remember him, but he was one of the leading figures back in the Team 3D days, and yeah, just a legend in CS in general. And now finding footing as a coach in CompLexity in that whole structure it's always nice to see. Also, Jason Lake, of course, a legend in CS himself, still involved with that organization. So a lot of big names coming out from that CompLexity, and now they're hoping that this is a new breed, the new generation. Android definitely one of these players that I could see in a couple of years being one of the bigger stars in North America.
Absolutely. Warden as well, just as a note.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's there as well.
Still a part of the organization. I don't know if he's physically here or not. Still a part of the organization. He has moved, I believe, into the managerial role for the team. But it is to be of note that he is available, I imagine, for kind of strategic assistance if he's needed for that as well, or if he's asked for input.
14-5, buy from both teams. Renegades almost out of money. You can see that in the way that JKS doesn't have a full setup. JKM is on a Galil, now pushed towards mid from the CT side. Two players are stacking it right now. They're waiting for that secondary flash. That's why Nifty, they're trying to use the anti-flash position because he's expecting something to come. Rotating back now, don't want to lose out to aggressive CT push. And in this situation, that is the correct call. The only bad thing about this is that they give up mid control. Here comes the push.
Oh, great timing on it as well. Catches them just as they're trying to throw nades out in the open here. So the second player that's still alive sitting at top mid is ready for it. And now the underpass push should have been successful to counter these trades, but it's a disaster. Yay trading out the kills, and now Jacob trying to bring it back for this T side, but it's not happening. He only trades out one, and now he's stuck alone with the recent loss of JKS.
You gotta win those. Like, that is just how it is.
Just doesn't seem like there's an excuse anymore, right? We are going to see Jacob just pretty much throw everything he's got towards the B-bomb site here. The smoke at least gives him a little bit more freedom to jump out, but he's also blinded himself. He doesn't know for certain if there's someone waiting for him on the other side of the archway anymore. He knows he's got pressure against him from the site. This is a lose-lose situation for Jacob, sadly. Made the jump, took a risk, works out as he gets pretty much to the default plant spot, but now he's got to look for kills. He cannot safely plant from his current position. Left with no choice, is forced into the open, where sadly he will get shut down, and CompLexity are going to push up onto map and match point.
Every single player from the Renegades lineup should be able to hit these shots, and missing that from Justillo and Azur is, like, it's so uncharacteristic because their usual level is more than able to handle that situation. And that's why it seems so weird, right? Because Renegades, like we mentioned it, they mentioned it on the desk. Like, this is a team that has high individual skill. In that situation and in many others so far, we have seen a level that's way below that individual skill that we are used to seeing from Renegades. I'm not sure what does this, but it's definitely one of the reasons why they're losing this one. JKS though always on fire with that deagle, but eventually shut down.
And again, lack of utility is going to be a problem here for the Renegades too. We can see it very much. So they've got a very small smoke wall lined up here, but Shazam is going to be able to read it like a book. He might get overwhelmed after he picks up that first kill though, but Dev will move into immediately trading. He's already seen Nifty. Great reaction from Nifty there to quickly knock off Dev's head, but it won't matter as Android trades him just a second later. And dominant victory is established for CompLexity as they take swift control of their opening match against the Renegades.
Very nicely done. Not expected, but after this game has gone through and concluded, we understand why. This is definitely a new structured CompLexity. This is looking very nice. The star players are performing. The infrastructure's there. The smokes, the flashes, the way that they do their executes, the way that they frag for each other. It's all working out for them right now, and it was way too much for Renegades to handle.
Austin proving for CompLexity at least to be just a bit of a warm-up as now they've showed up here to Summer ready to frag out and with quite a bit of firepower indeed sitting behind that, not just from an individual perspective but from a strategic perspective as well. They did fantastic in that opening match, and it's going to be interesting as well to see who they go up against a little bit later on. But for now, we are going to take it back over to our analysts to break down the game. So Paula, take it away.
A bit hot in here, isn't it? That's awkward. That's two absolute incorrect predictions from myself and my colleague. Well, No, Dust got it right, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for our resident North American Blue as well. Can't remember who he predicted, so you get all the credit.
He also did pick Complexity.
Okay,
So.
well, that's, I think, was accurate, but slightly audacious too. They were the underdogs coming into this, Dust.
It was accurate, but I thought it was going to be a way closer game than that. Because remember, my 3 reasons were why it was going to be a close game. So I was still half wrong with the closest of the game. But no, Complexity really impressed me. Like coming in, I didn't know what their Mirage would look like on the T side because they didn't really get a chance to play T side Mirage in officials with this new lineup. But when you watch them, they looked really coordinated. Like they actually played a lot slower than I would have expected. Like they were playing a lot of just mid control and just kind of like waiting until the mid to late rounds to really do stuff, which usually Stanislav prefers like a looser, fast-paced style. So I feel like they kind of reined that in a little bit. And I feel like they just looked like they were well drilled. Like they knew exactly what to do. They were trading off each other really well. I think it's always hard to pick apart such a one-sided game. But what you can at least say is that Complexity showed up really well prepared, looked like they've been well practiced.
Yeah, Pimp, run us a bit through why that T side was so dominant for Complexity.
I mean, Dust touched upon it. You know, the mid control and the fact they played so slow and so structured was definitely a big part of it. It's one of those scenarios typical where Renegades, knowing going into this matchup as they also practice against them from NA, that they're the heavy favorites. They are the better team normally under normal circumstances. But this
was huge by Andrew. How cool he dies after making the play.
It's just all those plays. It's all those rounds. You know, it felt like Renegades were not giving them too much respect, and they were just capitalizing off it. You know, they tried to get in their face in the beginning in the mid control, but that didn't work out. Then they tried to stay back. That didn't work out either. So they tried different approaches, but Complexity were able to cope with both different scenarios. And just you know, as Dust was saying, you know, it looked well drilled, and it looked like a new Complexity to me that we haven't really seen play this well. Looking at the ADR for Stanislav as well, being the in-game leader, posting 116 ADR.
Yeah.
That's insane. You know, that's something MSL sometimes do, but not consistently. So. You know, it's great to see an in-game leader finally showing up, and it is a great sign for Complexity and also for this tournament, because we said in the early stages of the disc segments that we had 6 teams that maybe could go on and win the tournament. Complexity were not one of them. Now they're also entering the tournament hot and strong, so we got potentially 7, 8 teams.
Here's the one stat. He had 6 entry kills. Like he had the most entry kills of anybody on the server. Stanislav was normally known as kind of like a lurking IGL, but he showed you that he can be diverse in the spots that he plays. He was part of their mid control a lot of that time, and he was getting a lot of opening frags, so props to the man leading by example, not just with strats, but with numbers.
Well, Dust, let's hear it from the man himself. Stan, the man I believe is on the other end of the line. Good to see you, bro. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
How have you been, before we get into the details of this game, since the last time I saw you Greece? I think it was last year when you were still on Liquid, then you departed from them. Now you found a home in Complexity, and it looks like it's getting off to a good start here, at least at DreamHack Summer.
Yeah, Complexity's been super great. I have nothing but good things to say. We've been putting in a lot of work. We all moved down to Dallas together. Just been grinding the past few weeks. Like DreamHack also in our last tournament wasn't too good. I don't think we were prepared enough, but over the past few weeks, I think it's starting to show that preparation is starting to, I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought, but we're a lot more.
Things are paying off.
Yeah, we're a lot more prepared, so it helps us get calm. The more lands we play, the more chemistry we're going to build throughout the team, and yeah, everyone's pretty confident right now.
I think chemistry is a good point to touch upon, because it looked, especially on that T side, like things were just clicking as Shazam walks by. Congratulations.
No, everything was clicking. Everyone knows that from our last tournament, the memories were just slow starts. But today we made a clear point. We went outside before the match and did some exercises that our performance coach showed us to get the energy up and going, and comms were perfect throughout the whole game. Teamwork was flawless, and yeah, no complaints. All right, so at this point you mentioned you're working with a performance coach? Yeah, it's his name's James Lath, and he just gives us tips and tricks on how to stay, you know, like nutrition-wise, physical-wise, and like how to get into the game quicker, because some people have slow starts, so you just want to get that energy from the get-go. Yeah, well, you are looking in shape. That's all. You've also started growing out the hair, following in potentially my footsteps. We're going to see a big long mane soon. I don't think so. Jacob, Dust, over to you.
Yeah, hey Peter, by the way. I'm super interested in hearing your thought process about, you know, being an in-game leader and Complexity now. We had a few months together in Liquid, and obviously back then it was like sort of a situation where you didn't get full control over the team due to the personalities on the team, right? How do you feel about Complexity? Are you finally on a team where you feel like everyone is listening to you and you can like sort of form the team around you?
Yeah, I think from the past, I've kind of learned my lesson in a sense. I need to be more authoritative and just be a stronger leader. So every team that I've gone through, I think I've learned a lot from each team. So now like you said it well, that I have full control over the team. I think I have a great support system behind me with Rambo and Warden. They really helped me a lot with strats and keeping everyone in check, and the schedule is great, and everything is just going super well. I get to run the team how I want, call how I want, and everyone's buying into it so far, so it's going really well.
Let's wrap it up with a final question from Dust.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, because like I know classically when I used to talk to you back when you were on Optic, you used to favor like playing like this really loose and kind of scrimmy type of style like Counter-Strike. But what I saw there on the T side Mirage seemed like it had a lot more like depth to it, complexity, if you will, if I was gonna put a pun there. So is that like a conscious thing that you're doing now with this team? Like, have you evolved as an in-game leader, or what do you think your philosophy is on this team?
I think it's a mix of both. We're really trying to just play proper CS, and that's just focusing on fundamentals, trading well, flashing well, knowing all your nades, and it's just a mixture of both. Having a loose style mixed with some structure is just the best way to get the best out of everyone.
All right, well, Stanislaw, thank you very much, and it's great to see you again. Hopefully we can have more chances to chat over the course of this weekend. Anything else you'd like to say?
That's it. Just looking forward to the final match. Hopefully we can pull it off and get through the playoffs.
Indeed. Well, we'll see you later today playing against an opponent yet unknown. All right, guys, closing thoughts?
I mean, super interesting to see CompLexity coming in, as I said, you know, hot and fire. I feel like it's another team we can put into the pool of potential candidates for a final position if they keep this level up. That said, though, it is a best of one. It is the first match of the day, so there's an asterisk to it. But I do believe that CompLexity is looking better than ever, and I think that's a fair statement you made.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's good that Stanislaw is fragging really well. I think it's good that really no one struggled on the team in that result. So good to see them come off that hot of a start. Like I thought it was kind of a coin flip matchup, but for them to win it that convincingly is definitely a good sign for this team after having a rougher time at Austin.
Indeed, always a great way to start off a tournament with such forward momentum. Guys, do not forget, if you'd like to get stuck into the nitty-gritty and the details with what's going on behind the scenes and also in-game, be sure to check out the Strafe Esports app. That'll be it from us for now. Up next, we have a match between a Go and Red Reserve, formerly known up until just a few days ago as Godsend. So do not go anywhere, and we will see you here shortly.